In the vast fields of Songtruk village, the early morning wind still blows gently, carrying the scent of straw and the strong scent of soil. In a thatched hut at the end of the village, there is a young man named Lam, living with Mrs. Nam, his frail foster mother, whom he respects more than his own parents.
Every day, Lam carried water, plowed, and hoed fields for others in exchange for rice and medicine for his grandmother. His sweat soaked into each field, but he still did not have enough to eat. Yet, on the high ground by the river, the Trin government held lavish banquets day and night. The villagers often say, "In life, the good people suffer, the wicked live happily." Hearing this, Lam just smiled. He believed that although heaven is high, it never overlooks the hearts of people. One afternoon, when it was pouring rain, Lam covered himself with a torn brown shirt and rushed home to see Mrs. Nam coughing and breathing weakly. He frantically ran around the village, looking for a doctor. Some people closed their doors and refused to see him. Others laughed coldly. "A poor family like yours, where do you get the money to demand treatment?" Lam just bowed his head in thanks and continued searching. Finally, he met an old man wandering under a banyan tree with white hair and beard and a thin figure. He looked at Lam and smiled gently. "Do you believe in karma?" "Yes, I do." "Then remember, you help people without thinking about anything in return. Goodwill will find its way back." That old man was Master Tu, the person who would later change Lam's life. He gave him medicine, instructed him on how to prepare it, then quietly walked away in the rain. That night, Lam stayed up all night by the stove, watching the pot of medicine boil. He thought, "People are rich but have cold hearts, but I am poor but still able to love others. That is a blessing." The next morning, when the sun had just risen, Mrs. Nam woke up. Lam knelt down to thank heaven and earth, and to thank the strange old man. Outside, the wind blew through the fields, sounding like a whisper. Being poor in money is not scary. Being poor in heart is what is worrying. That winter, Songtruk village was covered in white mist. The cold seeped through the thatched walls. Mrs. Nam fell ill again, and Lam continued to work as a hired hand. One morning, on his way to the market, he saw a beggar lying huddled on the side of the road, his clothes torn and his breathing weak. Without hesitation, Lam took off the only shirt he had, put it on the man, then brought the bowl of cold porridge he had brought with him and offered it to him. The beggar received it with trembling hands, tears streaming down his face. Why aren't you afraid of getting dirty?" "Yes, people can be hungry and suffer. I'm just afraid that I'll see it and ignore it." That afternoon, Lam returned home in the cold wind, shivering from the cold. But his heart felt strangely warm. He told Mrs. Nam about it. She held his hand and whispered, "My child, in life, people are not different in their clothes, but in their hearts. My child, in life, people are not different in their clothes, but in their hearts." That year there was a great drought. The whole village was cracked, the fields were dry, the fish died, and the people were thirsty. The Trin government still forced the people to pay all the taxes. The sound of crying echoed throughout the village. Lam shared the little water left in the jar with his neighbors. Someone scolded him for being foolish, but he just laughed. If everyone keeps it for themselves, the water will dry up. One night, he saw a starving child lying on the roadside, so he picked him up and fed him. In the morning, people rumored that he was a kidnapper. The soldiers arrested Lam and tied him up in the middle of the communal house yard. The villagers shook their heads in pity. No one dared to say anything. Only when Master Tu appeared, the child woke up and called out, "He saved me, he didn't take me. At that moment, the crowd was shocked. The magistrate saw the anger of the people and had to release Lamb. That night, Lamb sat by the dry well, quietly looking at the moon. He said to Master Tu, "I do good deeds, but why am I still suffering, still being wrongly accused?" Master smiled, "Because the blessing has not come in time. It is like a seed that needs rain to germinate. Just so one day the flower will bloom." That autumn, the bamboo leaves on the riverbank began to turn yellow. A cool breeze blew, carrying the smell of dry soil and the scent of ripe rice left over from the famine. Lamb still worked every day to earn money to buy medicine for Mrs. Nam. Although poor, he never took even a grain of rice from anyone. But life sometimes does not reward the good, but tests them. One afternoon, the villagers discovered that a bag of silver had been stolen from the house of Mr. Bahoy, the richest man in the village. For unknown reasons, people began to spread rumors that Lamb was the thief. The reason was simple. In the village, only that poor man needed money. The soldiers immediately took Lamb to the communal house for questioning. The whip swung, his back was bleeding. "Tell me quickly, where is the money?" Lamb just bowed his head, said softly, "I didn't take it. I swear to heaven and earth as witnesses." But no one believed it. The villagers whispered. Some sympathized, some laughed. Mrs. Nam heard the news, ran to the communal house, knelt in the middle of the yard, and shouted, "Gentlemen, he is poor but not mean. He ate bran and left some for me. How dare he steal other people's money?" However, the words of the poor old man were ignored. That night, Lamb was locked in an old, cold, and damp hut. He looked up at the sky through the crack in the door, his eyes filled with tears. "I do good deeds, but why is life still so cruel?" The next morning, Master Tu came. He brought a pot of hot porridge and placed it in front of Lamb. "You feel it's unfair, right?" "Yes. I feel I've been wronged. I just want to clear my name. Clearing my name is not difficult, but keeping my heart pure is difficult. Resentment will beget resentment. Only forgiveness can make your heart at peace." After saying that, Master Tu smiled and quietly left. A few days later, the case was cleared up. Mr. Bahoy's servant was the one who stole the silver, but was discovered and fled. When everyone realized Lamb was innocent, they were all ashamed. Mr. Bahoy personally came to apologize, intending to give compensation. Lamb just bowed his head and said, "Money can be earned back once lost, but trust, once lost, is hard to find. I just hope everyone will not be so quick to judge others." From then on, the villagers began to look at Lamb with different eyes. People said, "He is as gentle as the earth. He accepts injustice without resentment. He is truly a virtuous person." That night, the moon was as bright as a mirror. Lamb sat on the porch, looking at the moonlight shining on the fields, smiling slightly. He remembered what Master Tu said. Forgiveness is not because others deserve forgiveness, but because your heart deserves peace. Winter has come, and thick fog covers the abandoned fields. After a severe drought, Songtruck village is desolate. The fields are dry and cracked, and the rice cannot grow. Lamb still works hard to clear each old field, believing that dead land can be revived, let alone the human heart. Mt Boogie Sang, Ki Hang Scar, Lay Bd Ruong, Anhag, Genpi Thai, Tisai, Engang, Ang Lor Giji, Jombun Bidi, Non Lam Lam, Viak, Richem, Raihai, Kon Kon, Enchin Bat, Chao Engay, Hong, Enchim Turchak, Kang, Dienchin Ji, Kon Cho Sai, Mt Bat Chao, Matrugi le chokon, mtggi, bnun, n, nanqua, goiki, gion, duhan. The lamb was silent, listening. The teacher took out a golden grain of rice from his sleeve and gave it to him. What do you see in this grain? It's just a grain of rice. No, it contains the sun, wind, rain, the labor of the people who planted it, and the grace of heaven and earth. It is the crystallization of cause and effect. People are the same. Every action you do today is a grain of rice. Sow good, reap peace. Sow evil, reap suffering. Cause and effect are never wrong. The afternoon wind blew. The rice grain in Lamb's hand shone under the sunlight. He looked at it and suddenly understood. For so long he had suffered not because life had treated him badly, but because he had not truly understood the meaning of sowing. In the afternoon, Lamb returned home and told Mrs. Nam the story. She just nodded. My parents were poor and did not leave me any wealth, only their hearts. Keeping a kind heart is keeping blessings. From then on, Lamb began to replant his field. Even though the land was dry, he still believed that each seed would sprout. Every morning, he bowed his head and clasped his hands, silently praying. I do not pray for wealth. I only hope to live uprightly, do good and avoid evil. Many months passed, and strangely, on the field that was thought to be dead, the rice began to grow green. The villagers were all amazed. People said, Lamb's field has magic. The dead land is revived. Teacher 2 smiled and replied, No magic, it is just a blessing from the heart. When he harvested the first crop, Lamb did not keep the rice for himself, but shared it with poorer families. He said, If I eat my fill while others are hungry, the rice will no longer taste sweet. Mrs. Nam looked at her son, tears falling down her wrinkled cheeks. You understand life now, Lamb. The rice you sow is a blessing to others and a blessing to yourself. That night, the moon was shining brightly. Lamb sat alone in the yard, holding the first grain of rice in his hand. He suddenly felt that all the suffering, injustice, and deprivation were as light as the wind. Human life is like a grain of rice buried in mud. Exposed to rain and sun, only then can one know the fragrance of ripening equals. Summer was coming. The first rain of the season fell gently on the thatched roof, seeping into the green rice fields that Lamb had sown the previous season. Every time he saw the rice-bearing ears, his heart felt as light as the clouds. After many months of hardship, Mrs. Nam was better. Lamb only hoped that she could keep that peace forever. One morning, when going to the market to sell rice, Lamb saw a young girl sitting huddled under a banyan tree at the village entrance. The rain had just stopped, her clothes were soaked, and she was holding an old cloth bag in her arms. Seeing this, Lamb stopped. Miss, are you okay? I just want to ask for some water for my sick mother. Her voice was as small as a breeze. Her eyes were red. Lamb quickly took the gourd of water and handed it to her. When he saw her bend down to wipe the forehead of her mother lying in the cloth bag, his heart sank a little. The old woman was as thin as a twig. Her breathing was weak. Lamb immediately helped her back to his hut, lit a fire to cook porridge. Seeing this, Mrs. Nam smiled kindly. There are people in life who are more miserable than me. Any help I can give is a good thing. The girl's name is Lean. Her father died early, and the mother and daughter went everywhere looking for work. Now they were hungry and lost. Staying at Lamb's house for a few days, Lean asked to help with the farming, cooking, and picking vegetables. Every morning she carried water, her messy hair flying in the early morning wind. Lamb felt his heart stirred, but he didn't dare say anything. He could only silently help her fix the gourd trellis, weave baskets, or cover her when it rained. One day, Master Tu came to visit. Seeing Lian, he smiled slightly and said to Lam, "If fate allows, we will meet again even if we are thousands of miles apart. You know, there are people who meet again not to start over, but to repay a debt." Lam was surprised. "Master, what debt?" "In my previous life, I saved a girl from drowning. She vowed to find me in this life to repay her kindness. Lin is that person." After hearing that, Lam was shocked. He looked at Lin, who was busy in the yard, smiling innocently under the sunlight, and suddenly felt an indescribable warmth in his heart. As the days passed, the feelings between the two people grew deeper. But then another disaster struck. The Trin government ordered the confiscation of the people's land to build a new government office. Lam's land was also confiscated. The villagers were angry, but did not dare to protest. Lam sat sadly on the bank of the field with bare stubble. Lin came and sat next to him, softly saying, "I once taught you that if you sow good, you will reap peace. Believe me, heaven has not forgotten the righteous." Lam looked at her, smiling. "If I have to lose everything, but keep this heart, I am willing." That night, Master Tu came by again. He put his hand on Lam's shoulder. "Don't be resentful. What you lost is life. What you keep is your heart. And a good heart is never poor." Lam understood. He did not fight, did not hold grudges, just quietly helped the villagers rebuild their houses, find other land to grow crops. Lin was still by his side, sharing food and clothes, taking care of Mrs. Nam. In the quiet night, Lam said softly, "Perhaps the debt of life is not a debt of money, but a debt of love, a debt of fate, a debt of kindness between people." That rainy season, thunder and lightning lasted for several days. Water flooded the fields, sweeping away the crops and hopes of the villagers of Songtruk. At the same time, the Trin government ordered a tax increase to rebuild the royal granary, but everyone knew that the rice did not reach the people. The villagers complained, but did not dare to speak up. Among those whose fields were robbed, there was also Lam. He remained silent, only helping people build dikes, sharing the little rice he had left. People said he was foolish. If you are robbed and still help others, it is like taking firewood to warm someone who burned down your house. Lam just smiled. The firewood will burn, but the heart of the person who burned down will have nothing left. Mt. Kiem Ench, Lian, Sai Jiao, Cm Cho, Dan Gipiki, Tun Cc, Chinkin Cam, Gi, Ca Quan, Fach, Hang Len Tun, Thork Ra, Ing Tun, Thork Ra, Ingo, Ji Bao, Cho Lam, Lambit K, Law, Bening Ching, Phi SS, Giontra, Enheng, Nuti, Juk, Silang, Sn Gnp, Nui, Heim Vien, Quan Fach, Koquian, Luck, Ellen. He pondered all night and finally went to Master Tu. "Master, if I remain silent, the truth will be buried. But if I speak out, the villagers will be implicated." Master Tu looked at him, his eyes gentle and deep. Sometimes what is right has to be paid for, but remaining silent in the face of wrong is also a sin. Do what your conscience tells you to, not out of fear, not out of resentment. Lam nodded. The next morning, he gathered all the evidence-wet rice bags with the seal of the prefecture still on them and brought them to the district magistrate. The news spread quickly. The Trin magistrate was furious and ordered his soldiers to arrest Lam. He was tied up in the middle of the communal house yard, the rain pouring down on his shoulders, but his eyes remained calm. "You dare to defy your superiors. Do you want to die? I just want the truth to be revealed." This village has suffered too much, sir. The magistrate was angry and ordered him to be beaten. At that moment, Master Tu and the villagers came and knelt together in the rain. If Lam is guilty, we will accept the punishment. Heaven and earth will not tolerate the harm of a good person. At that moment, thunder struck loudly. A spark tore across the sky, hit the granary, and the fire flared up fiercely. All the fraudulent rice, gold, silver, and evidence of the government's crimes were burned to ashes. The Trin government official was scared, kneeling in the rain, his mouth trembling. God has eyes. From then on, he was constantly sick. His daughter was seriously ill for no apparent reason. People said, that is the retribution of greed. The magistrate sent someone to find Master Tu for help. Master Tu only said, to save people, you must save the heart. When the heart knows how to repent, the disaster will end. The magistrate suddenly burst into tears and bowed down. I was wrong. All my life I have only known how to collect, never how to give. The magistrate sent someone to find Master Tu for help. Master Tu only said, to save people, you must save the heart. When the heart knows how to repent, the disaster will end. He apologized to the villagers, returned the fields, reduced taxes, and asked for forgiveness from Lam. Lam only replied, you don't need to apologize to me. As long as from now on, the poor are no longer exploited, that's enough. After that incident, Songtruk village was peaceful again. The villagers rebuilt the granary, dividing the rice equally among everyone. In the sky, the clouds cleared, the sun shone on the newly sown rice fields. Lin looked into the distance, saw the storks flying back, and felt relieved. He softly said, good and evil, like rain and sunshine, sometimes they change roles, but in the end, the water still flows to the good land. After the heavy rainstorm, the sky in Songtruk village gradually cleared up. The fields turned green again, the young rice swayed in the wind, as if they had never experienced a severe drought. After the incident, the Trin Mandarin resigned. He moved to a small house by the river with his daughter, Tu, Thursday Ngok Mai, living quietly among the villagers. He regretted day and night, but his heart was still heavy because Ngok Mai had a strange disease. Her body gradually weakened, her limbs were paralyzed, and she could not speak. It was rumored that this was retribution for his sins. But Lam, hearing this, just shook his head slightly. Heaven does not take human lives for revenge. It is only karma that has been paid off, and then the path of goodness can be opened. One day, in the middle of a rainy night, someone knocked on Lam's door. It was the former servant of the governor. His face was distraught. The young lady is about to die. The governor has asked you to come, to help. Lam was stunned. The person who had once robbed his field and beaten him in the courtyard was now asking for help. A thought flashed through his mind. If it was someone else, they would have let it be. But then he remembered what Master Tu had said. Doing good deeds is not for the sake of others, but to keep your heart pure. Kang Chen Shalam Voivian Koak O Maya Meng Theo Thuk Tho DGC. Chi Trong Jo Lenhan Na Quan Fach. Kan Na Len Gig Tu Heo Ti Chiang Ro Fach. Yen Du Lpp Lo. Anjok Mai lay on the bed, her face pale, breathing weakly. The Trin governor knelt down, his voice choked. Lam, I know you hate me, but please save this innocent child. Even if it means my life, I am willing. Lam was silent. He sat down, opened the medicine bag, crushed the leaves, and applied them to the girl's body. His shirt was soaked with sweat, his hands were shaking from the cold, But he remained patient. That night, the rain continued to fall outside. The drops of water mixed with the tears on his hands, both pity and forgiveness. By morning, Njogmai gradually regained consciousness. She held her father's hand, her voice weak. "Dad, don't be sad anymore. I see. Someone has forgiven us." The Trin governor looked at Lam, tears streaming down his face. He knelt down before him and said, "The heavens are truly fair. It turns out that people repay kindness not with money, but with kindness." Lam only softly replied, "Your daughter has suffered for you. Now that her sin has been paid, please do not torment yourself anymore. Live the rest of your life doing good deeds and helping the poor." From that day on, the Trin government divided all the remaining assets among the poor, rebuilt the dike, built schools, and opened a new market. As for Lam, he quietly returned to his fields without receiving a single penny. That afternoon, he sat looking at the sparkling golden water. On his hand was still a drop of water where he had applied medicine to Njogmai last night. That drop of water, to him, was not just rainwater, but a drop of water that washed away hatred. If hatred is the shackles, then forgiveness is the key. Only when we know how to let go will our hearts be truly free. After the fateful rainy night, Njogmai recovered, and the Trin governor seemed to come back to life. He was no longer a powerful official, but just a white-haired old man who went around the village every day, helping people mend dikes, carry water, and treat illnesses with the remedies Lam taught him. The villagers of Songtruk were wary at first, but gradually everyone was moved. It is said that every early morning, when the bell of Songtruk pagoda rings, Old Man Trin is seen kneeling outside the gate, clasping his hands and bowing his head. No more arrogance, no more power. Only a man is cleansing his soul with sincere repentance. The Trin government rebuilt the village school, which had once been a corrupt granary. On the gatepost, he carved the words, "Wherever evil has been sown, sow goodness." He invited Master Tu to teach letters and religion, and Lam to be his assistant. On the first day of school, children were playing, villagers gathered. The Mandarin stood in the middle of the yard, his voice deep and emotional. "In the past, I took away your rice. Now, I would like to return it with letters, so that no one in the future will suffer because of ignorance like me. Ting Vin Te, Vang Lan, Zen Lane, Ting Kok. Lam Non Siench Kai, Long Anham, BML, Anham Bit, Tha, The, That SSG, BTH Who, TK. One afternoon, Lam saw Mr. Trin sitting under an old banyan tree, holding a small bronze bell in his hand, carefully cleaning it. He asked, "Why does your Majesty still keep this thing?" He smiled kindly. "This is the bell I took from the old temple to cast a statue for the prefecture. I keep it to remind myself. Every time the wind blows and the bell does not ring, it means my heart is still heavy with debt." Having said that, he hung a bell in front of the classroom door. From then on, every time the children came to school, the bell rang, ringing out across the fields. People called it the wake-up bell, not only to wake the children to class, but also to awaken the souls of those who had made mistakes. A year later, the epidemic spread throughout the region. Many surrounding villages were isolated. Lam and the Trin government together set up a medicine distribution camp, saving people regardless of their status. Once, Mr. Trin brought a bowl of hot medicine to a beggar, the man he had ordered his soldiers to beat in the past. The beggar looked at him, his eyes red. "I thought you were dead. The evil in me is dead, he replied softly. Only the one who learned to be human remains. That autumn, Mr. Trin gradually became weaker. Before he died, he called Lamb and Teacher to his bedside and said softly, I have nothing left but one wish. If we meet again in the next life, I want to be a poor and honest person like you. Having said that, he smiled and gently touched the bronze bell beside his pillow. The bell rang out a long, light sound like the wind and flew throughout the village. That day, all the villagers of Songtrok stopped, turned towards the sound of the bell, clasped their hands and bowed their heads. People said that the sound of the bell not only sent off a soul, but also sent off many past karma, leaving behind peace and serenity in every grain of rice, every gust of wind from the countryside. Many years have passed since the last bell rang in Songtruk village. Lamb now has grey hair, still lives in a small house next to the field, raising bees, growing rice, teaching children to read and write. The village is now different. There are classrooms, a market, and the laughter of children echoing throughout the early morning. One morning, Nem, Lamb's student, brought his teacher a bundle of golden rice. Teacher, this is the first rice I have sown. I want to give it to you. Lamb took it and smiled. Not for you, give it to the poor. Rice is only truly precious when it fills the stomachs of hungry people. Nam asked in surprise. Why is a small grain of rice so precious, teacher? Lamb replied in a warm voice. Because in a grain of rice there is the sweat of the earth, of people, and also the heart. Whoever knows how to cherish it, understands the way of being human. The boy bowed his head, remembering it in his heart. Every year, during the harvest season, the villagers hold a bronze bell ceremony, where they come together to remember the Trin governor, Master Tu, and the deceased. They do not erect a golden statue, nor do they offer high offerings, but only light an oil lamp on a bamboo table. That lamp is placed in the middle of the field, shining all night, symbolizing the light of kindness, a light that never goes out. One late autumn afternoon, as the sun set over the fields, Lamb sat under the banyan tree where Mr. Trin had sat years ago. A gentle breeze blew, and the small bells on the branches rang softly. Lamb closed his eyes, and he heard someone calling, Lamb, you have sown all the seeds of goodness. He opened his eyes and saw a white cloud drifting across the sky, sunlight filtering through the leaves, shining on the water, shimmering like 1,000 golden seeds sprouting. He smiled, placed his hand on his chest, and said softly, The one who sows the rice seed does not need to see the harvest. He only needs to believe that the seed will grow. That is enough. Before he passed away, Lamb left a small notebook for his students. In it, he wrote, Tran Ggi Kobar, the Kang Nen Kin Thong, Mt Law Ht Lua, Nach Vien Nor Nui San Wen Gi, Hai Law Lie Noi Thion, Vien Nor Cuggc Mt Tam Hn, Ba Law Han Yong Nach, Vien Nor Ko the Thai Gc Kinbei Gi, Gi Gai Yo Kang Hang Thong Beneng, Gi Kang Bit Yu Thong, K Jo Kang Hang Trung Beneng, K Bit Sb Kaya, Vai Hai Hu, GGC Lut Nan Kwa, Gigi Ko, San Bnun, and Ent. That year, Songtruk village had the biggest harvest in decades. In the morning of the harvest, the sun had just risen, and the light shone across the golden rice fields. In the sky, flocks of white storks flew in long lines, like strokes of peace. People say that every time the temple bell rings, the rice grains in the fields sway slightly, as if bowing their heads to thank the ancients. Tarkang Bitgi, Zivaji, Sanra, Sauki, Chung, Koyan, chung ko, vang, chang, ko, an trang, soi kan han, fei, kan trang, trong, kiem, en heng trong, ss gyo, kokai, gai, gi ziva, leijo, long nan, bitkor, ting bat, cm ting, gait, nchi ting tin, tm long. Karma is not in the afterlife, nor in the underworld. Karma lies in every human choice. When we choose love over hate, we change our own destiny. When we choose to share even a small bowl of rice, we have planted a seed of goodness, which will sprout in the hearts of others. Cause and effect are not scary. The scariest thing is that we know we are wrong, but still stubborn, know we are suffering, but still refuse to let go. In life, everyone has been hurt, betrayed, and harmed. But if we keep holding on to hatred, we are burning the ashes of others in our hearts. Lamb taught us that. Forgiveness is not because others deserve it, but because we deserve peace. When we know how to let go, all suffering fades away like morning dew. When we know how to smile at the past, heaven and earth will also calm down in our hearts. Each person is a grain of rice in the field of humanity. Some seeds fall on dry ground, some are trampled, some are forgotten. But as long as there is faith and light in the heart, the seed can still sprout. Don't wait for others to sow good. Start from yourself. A gentle word, a good deed that no one needs to know, a heart that knows how to thank life even if it's just because the dawn still comes. That's enough. If one day you pass by a field of ripe rice and see the rice grains bowing their heads to the wind, remember, the rice grains bow their heads not because they are weak, but because they are heavy with gold inside. The same is true for humans. When we bow our heads to humanity, that is when we are at our greatest. Life is only truly meaningful when we know how to give. In a life full of calculations, whoever can maintain kindness, that person has overcome all cause and effect.